A lot of the talk this past week and weekend has been about Fox's coverage of NASCAR and the overall coverage landscape of the sport heading into what is going to be a 7-year new contract. And we've covered this point a lot on this channel, and we've done it recently, Fox in particular. But I think this is an overall issue that needs to be looked at in a little bit of a different way, because overall there is a huge issue right now with the way that NASCAR is being presented to the masses, whether it's with commercials, whether it's with on-air coverage, whether it's just in general with how serious the sport is taken. And there's plenty of solutions we have put out there, and I think that they're valid ones, whether it's stuff that I've said, other YouTubers have said, people on Twitter, drivers, you name it. People have different ways and passionate ways to change it for the better. But here's the big problem we have to look at, and the unfortunate truth about NASCAR broadcasts. There is no incentive at this time to change, at least for Fox and NBC. Now, while NBC has done a much better job than Fox, there is always room for improvement. And some may say, well, look at the ratings. Ratings have been down a lot of the time over the last two decades, maybe a decade or so, and you really need to do something to get those numbers up. Talladega this past week was down 5% year over year. And while people will give excuses about, well, it was against this playoff game or this one, Talladega's against playoff games and different sports every year. I think it's BS to throw out, this happened, so that's why, when actually a lot of those other playoff games were multi-year lows. Talladega being down is a bad thing for NASCAR. It's not necessarily as bad as other sports. It's nowhere near actually as bad as other motorsports, but some might argue, it's the commercials. I'd say, at least for the casual fan, yeah, I could see why people would turn off after those commercials. I went to the Saudi stream instead because they have commercial-free coverage, and it was amazing because you still have the normal Fox broadcast. It's just basically NASCAR's raw feed that they upload to their YouTube channel every week. But what I noticed was it was a lot of time just listening to the cars go around, which I'm okay with for a lot of it, but it was a lot of that time because they were under commercial and the announcers weren't on the mic. But the incentive for all of this is money. And in my opinion, the money train is still rolling in enough that nobody really needs to make a change if they're going to get paid. I mean, look at the TV side of it, for instance. They can sell more and more ads as it goes because live sports, even lower viewed ones, are at a premium. They are the one and only golden cow, golden goose, golden whatever, for cable television, as well as just normal broadcast television, but especially cable. And the big races you really need to sell because those advertisers then can get out to more eyes, like the Daytona 500, Talladega, Charlotte, those for Fox, or the Brickyard, or the Finale. Those are going to be viewed differently both by the television provider and, of course, by the advertisers. They know more people are going to be watching those races in comparison to the others around it, regardless of what they do, regardless of effort, regardless of ads, regardless of any of it. And this also means that they would want to do something maybe to recoup more of that money, which is why I think the TV is going down this cheaper process that they are as well. When you look at the way that broadcasts are heading, you look at the in-person booth kind of being forced out, or at least it seems like many are trying to force it out when it comes to broadcasters. When you look at real props like the Hollywood Hotel, or you look at, say, a cutaway car, do you really need those when you can use a graphic or a green screen in Charlotte for it? That's the big question you have to ask. Why would they have incentive to do this in person? Unfortunately, NASCAR is expensive in all aspects to get into, whether you're a driver, a team member, or in this case, a broadcaster. It's just going to cost more to put on a good NASCAR race. You could have a really competent and probably well put together football program with just 2 microphones for the announcers and maybe 1 or 2 extra cameras other than the static camera covering the whole field. NASCAR, you just can't do that. You're going to need cameras in every corner. You're going to need them in the pits. You're going to need them with pit reporters. You're going to need them overhead, and that costs a lot of money, and they're looking at ways to kind of cut that. If you want an example of the way I think NASCAR broadcasting is heading, you got to look at truck broadcasts. I know a lot of people keep skipping them. I know a lot of people don't like them. And I'm not saying that the talent on air on that would be the way that Cup broadcasts one day will be. But when you're looking at the way that everything else is kind of run, that's the future, whether we like it or not. And I want this to also be abundantly clear. I am not taking a shot at any of the talent that is at the track. The pit reporters this year have done a great job, and so have those in the booth. At least a lot better job than years past. And I don't think that they deserve the hate for stuff that is definitely corporate suits doing. But speaking of that, you got to look at NASCAR. NASCAR is still going to be getting billions of dollars through 2031. And things can remain as normal. Why rock the boat when the boat is rocking with money? There is no need on their part to go after Fox or NBC for things that fans might not like and piss off longtime partners. By the end of this deal, Fox will have been with NASCAR for 31 straight years. NBC had 6 years of the initial process that Fox had, and the last 17 years, as of 2031, NBC will have been with NASCAR. The majority of the top 3 series drivers by that time will have not been born before Fox was broadcasting, and a lot of the truck series drivers coming in will have not been born since NBC came back. It's going to be a huge shuffle if they rock the boat too much. But all of this could be avoided or fixed with maybe a simple solution or two. And I think that these also are partly a hope of many fans. So there are 2 of them. The first off is the providers, Amazon and Turner Sports. Prime is at the cutting edge of just about anything they do. They want to be at the cutting edge of culture, they want to be at the cutting edge of broadcasting, and they're willing to spend money. They need to establish a trust with the NASCAR fan base, not only for their sake, but for the sake of streaming in general to get people over. When you look at their NFL coverage, it is awesome. It is interactive, and it's something that's a lot different than the normal NFL coverage we see. There is a demand, though, for them to be a bit better, because it's more difficult to bring people in, and they want to establish themselves in the sports culture the way that Fox, CBS, NBC, ESPN, you name it, are established as one of the go-to providers. Same goes for the CW with the Xfinity series. That will be a cornerstone project for them on top of college football to establish themselves on that level. Same goes for Turner Sports, who returns for the first time in 11 years as of next summer. They are bringing Bleacher Report and many other different services to the table, bringing a younger fan base, and they're going to need to work for that fan base, and they know it. And the big part is their co-owner and founder, Ted Turner, is a huge motorsports fan and would probably put a little extra effort in the NASCAR that anyone else wouldn't. And the other big thing outside of the providers is the X Factor. Dale Earnhardt Jr. I know a lot of people might roll their eyes at this, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. is probably, at least with the fan base and public perception, the most powerful person in all of NASCAR. Yeah, there's others that do have more power than him in the business side of things, but Dale Jr. can get influence. All he has to do is say one sentence and it can change half the fan base's mind on something. He is very pro announcers at the track and pro going back to things that have worked before. And I think with that weight in the sport, he can put his foot down and he can help guide Prime and Turner into this new age of broadcasting. Again, it's a big hope at this point, and it's something that's not set in stone, but those 2 things, those broadcasters and Dale Jr., may be the turning point that helps bring us back to a really high level of broadcast again. So with that, I want to know what you think. So let me know down in the comments what you think should or even could be done to fix or remedy these issues. While you're at it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and be sure also to check out the NWP at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to talk about this, Talladega, MJ, the Eric Jones injury, and everything else in between. So until then, have a good one.